Okay, nama saya Mohd Iqbal. I'm currently working as a software engineer. I have been with Kreno for around 2 years. This class was requested by Mahadi because there are students asking about Laravel Eloquent relationship. So before we dive in, I would like to explain first on relationships. So I will explain about 3 relationships, which is the one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many. So first on one-to-one. An example we can use for one-to-one is a relation between user and profile. So the relationship for this is one user can have a profile and a profile belongs to a user. Reason why this relationship is used is because we want to view the profile of a user and to know the profile belongs to which user. So in order to achieve the actions, we will put the user ID in profile table. This is because we want to indicate that the profile belongs to which user. So as you can see here, we have these 2 tables. The table user have 2 users, which is Abu and Jack, and the profile having image 1 and image 2. So let's say if we want to view Abu's profile, what we need to do is Abu's ID is 1. So we will search the user ID with the value 1. So the user ID with value 1 is in this row. So we know that Abu's profile is image 1. And the same goes with Jack. Jack has ID 2. So inside the profile table, we will search the value of user ID 2. So we know that Jack's profile is image 2. Okay, now for the one-to-many. An example we can use for one-to-many is a relation between a post and a comment. So the relationship for this is one post can have many comments and a comment belongs to a post. So the reason why this relationship is used is because we want to view all comments of a post and we want to know that the comment belongs to which post. So in order to achieve this, it's quite same with the one-to-one. Like in the one-to-one, we put the user ID inside the profile because we want to know the profile belongs to which user. The same thing goes here. We want to know the comment belongs to which post, so we put the post ID inside the comment. The difference is that one post can have many comments. Like this one user can only have one profile. So for example, inside here we have these 2 tables, post and comment. In the post table we have 2 values which is the post 1 and post 2, and we have the table comment where we have 3 comments. So let's say if we want to know the comment of post 1, so first we check that post 1 has ID 1. So inside the table comment we will search rows that have the post ID of 1. So we know that there are 2 rows that have the post ID of 1, which is comment 1 and comment 2. So from there we know that post 1's comments are comment 1 and comment 2. The same thing goes for post 2. Post 2 have ID of 2. So inside this table we will search rows that have post ID 2. So we know that post 2's comment are comment 3. So that is for one-to-many. Okay, now for the many-to-many. So for the many-to-many, an example we can use is example relation that we can use is a relation between a subject and a teacher. So the relationship for this is subject can have many teachers and teachers can have many subjects. So the reason why this relation is used is because we want to view all subjects that belongs to a teacher, and we want to view all teachers that teach that subject. So in order to achieve that, it's quite different from the one-to-one and one-to-many, because many-to-many you need to make an intermediate table. So the values that needs to be inside that intermediate table is that we need to have both IDs of these 2 tables, like here, subject ID and teacher ID. So how can we read the values from this one? So here is an example. Let's say right now I want to know teachers that teaches subject math. So here we know that math has ID 1. So inside this table, we will search the rows that have subject ID of 1. So from here we know that there are two rows that have subject ID of 1. So from this row, we know that teachers that teaching subject math is teacher ID 1 and ID 2. So we know that the math teachers are Zainal, which is the ID 1 here, and Mary, the teacher ID 2. The same thing goes with science. Science have the ID subject 2. So inside this table, we will search the rows that have the subject ID of 2. So inside here, these are the rows that have the subject ID of 2. So we know that the teachers that teaching are the teacher with ID 1 and ID 2, which is Zainal and Mary. And we can also search what subjects the teacher is teaching. Let's say I want to know what subjects Zainal is teaching. So what I need to do is, Zainal has ID 1. So inside here, I will search the rows that have teachers of ID 1 here and also here, these two. So meaning that Zainal teaches subject with ID 1 and ID 2, which is both math and science. Zainal teaches math and science. The same things go with Mary. Mary have ID 2. So the rows that have teacher ID of 2 is this one and this one, meaning that Mary teaches subject ID 1, subject ID 2, which is math and science. So those are the explanation about one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many. So now we will dive in on how we can implement this inside Laravel. Okay, now we will go through on how we can make the one-to-one relationship. So first of all, we will need to make our migration, the database. So for the one-to-one, we have the table of user and profile. So first we need to make the user table. This user table is when you create a new Laravel project, by default a user table will be created. So this is the user table that is created. And we'll need to make a profile table. So just like here in the profile table, we will need the user ID. So inside here we set the foreign ID of user ID. So when we have made these two tables, we'll need to make two models. The two models are the profile model and the user model. So inside here, we will set the relationship between these two. Because as we say here, the relationship, one user can have a profile and the profile belongs to a user. So inside our model user, we say that user has one profile. We name our function here profile. So when we mention or when we call the function profile, it means that it knows that the user has one profile. And because we say that a profile belongs to a user, inside the profile model, we said that the profile belongs to user, and we name the function as user. Okay, so for these two, it depends if you want to use it or not. It depends on the requirement of your system. Let's say if your system wants to know or wants to view the profile of a user, so then you will need this function. And let's say if your system doesn't need to know that the profile belongs to which user, so you don't need to use this. This relationship is made if you want to achieve this, to know the profile belongs to which user. And let's say if you don't want to know that to view the profile user, you just want to know the profile belongs to which user, so you will need this, and this one you don't need. So it depends on the requirement and what you want to achieve. But for me, usually I just put both, because you know, when you code and then suddenly, oh, actually I need this. So for me, I just make both. Okay. So now there is the one-to-one. Oh, sorry, forgot. Okay, now we will go to the controller on how we can save and how we can retrieve. Okay, controllers, user controller. So let's say inside our system here, this is the user list. Let's say right now I want to view the profile of Abu. So it says here profile 1, the profile Jack, profile 2, user Kim, profile that belongs to Kim. Okay, so in order for me to receive or to retrieve the profile that belongs to Kim, to John, or to that user, all I need to do is like this. This is how you can achieve or retrieve the profile that belongs to user. So first of all, what I need to do is I need to receive the data of the user that I want to know, and then I'll just need to call the function of the profile. The profile function here comes from the name that we set inside the user model here, the profile. And because this is a one-to-one relationship, we don't need the bracket. If you made the bracket, it will return an error, because that's how the syntax that Laravel made for one-to-one. So this is how you want to achieve or want to retrieve the profile of that user. Okay, now how can we add a profile? Let's say right now I create a new user. Let's say this one is Megan, and we add. Okay, sorry for that. Because this system I made last minute, so I forgot to make where you can have two names, but no worries. So because inside here we have Megan, so let's try another name. Let's say Ali. Let's say Ali, and we add Ali. Okay, so inside here, the user list, we've created a new user which is Ali, and because we just created a new user, Ali doesn't have a profile, as you can see here. Add profile, user has no profile. So for us to add a profile and say that that profile belongs to this user, what we need to do is, where's the code? Here it is. Let me just arrange this first. Okay. So first of all, what we need to do is, based on the request from this form, we will create a new profile model, a new profile data, and then we set the username here, the username to the new profile, and then on how we want to save it is, first we call the user that we want to save it at, and then we call the function that we set inside the model, the profile, and then we call save, and then we put the profile where we set the username that we receive from the form. So that's how you want to make, or you want to save the profile that belongs to that user. So for instance, let's say we make profile belongs to Ali, add. So when we view the profile of Ali, profile belongs to Ali. Okay, so there is one-to-one. So now we will go to one-to-many. So inside one-to-many we have two tables, which is post and comment. So first of all, we will need to make the migrations. The post table, here in the post table I have a field title, and we have the comments table where we have this field of content and the foreign ID, which is the post ID. So because we want to know that the comment belongs to which post. So after we make those two migrations, we'll need model of comment and model of post. And because our relationship is one post can have many comments and the comments belong to a post, inside our model post, we will mention that a post has many comments. A post has many comments, and because the post has many comments, usually we name our function as plural because we know that the post can have many comments. And because a comment belongs to a post, we mention that inside our comment model that a comment belongs to post. And because usually there's for naming of the function, usually those who use Laravel, we intend to make it logical, or we check the verb. Let's say if like this one, comment belongs to a post, because we know it belongs to a post, one post, so the name of it will be singular. And it's like here post, because we know that a post can have many comments, so we made the function name plural. Okay. And similar to just like I said for the user and profile relation, if you want to view all comments of a post, then this function is needed. And if you want to know that the comment belongs to which post, this function is needed. And if you don't need either one, then just don't use the either one. You can just ignore it. Okay, so how we can use this inside our controller? Let's go to the post controller. Okay, let's go to our system. So this is post of title 1. These are the comments for title 1. So in order for me to retrieve the comments that belong to that post, here it is, show comment. This one is a bit different because just now inside our user controller, if we want to know the profile that belongs to that user, we want to retrieve it, it's just like this. For the one-to-one, you will not need the bracket, but as for one-to-many, we will need the bracket because it returns an array of data, and because it returns an array of data, we will need to call another method for we to retrieve that data, which is get. Okay, if anyone wants to know what is get, Eloquent, let's say collections, available method, oops, not this one, collection, yes, this one, available methods, get. The get method returns the item of a given key. If the key does not exist, null is returned. So in instance for here, we have a collection. So we make get name. This one is you want to get by each or by key, but because we just want to receive all, so we just make get empty. So for us to know that the comments belong to which post, if you want to know all the comments that belongs to that post, so this is the way to do it. This is for the one-to-many. Okay, now, so on how you can add a comment for that post is quite similar to the one-to-many and to the one-to-one. Let's say inside here, post list. Let's say inside here I create a new post 6, add, and when we view our post, we know that there's no comment. So if we want to add a new comment, let's say comment 1 for post 6, add, and when we view comment 1 for post 6. So how we can add the comment for that post is, first of all, we will receive the data or the request from this form, and then we will make a new model comment, and then we will save the data we receive from the form inside the comment. And then on how we can save it is, first of all, we will receive the data of the post that we want to save it to. Call the function comments, which we name it inside the post comment, the post model here, the comments. And then we call the save method, and then we put the data that we set inside here, the content which we see from here. So this is how you want to save a comment that belongs to that post. Okay, so this is for the one-to-many. So for the many-to-many, so for our many-to-many, we will need 3 tables, which is the first one is the subject, the teacher, and the intermediate table. Okay, subjects table, we have the field name. Teachers table, we have the field name, and the subject teacher table. Okay, when we want to create, there's a rule for us to create the intermediate table. Both names needs to be in the alphabetical order, such as this one, S, T, because S comes first before T, so we will put the name subject first and then teacher. Let's say if I want to create an intermediate table for table post and comments, so the name of that table will be comment post, because the letter C, comment, comes first before the letter P, post. Alright, so inside our intermediate table, we will have these 2 friend ID, which is the subject ID and the teacher ID. Okay, so we will need to set the relationship inside our model, which is the subject and teacher. For many-to-many, the keyword for us to make that relationship is belongs to many. So for instance, the subject, if you want to say that subject can have many teachers, so the keyword is belongs to many. The same thing goes to teacher. Teacher can teach many subjects here, so the keyword also belongs to many. Okay, so now we will go to our controller. Let's say, for instance, here we go to our subject list. As you can see here, math, the teachers that are teaching math. Science, teachers that are teaching science. So how can we retrieve the teachers that teach this subject? So for us to retrieve the teachers that teach that subject, the way we can use it is similar to the one-to-many. As you can see here, the one-to-many, first we just need to know the post, we call the functions, and then we get the comments that belongs to that post. The same thing goes here. If I want to know the teachers that teach that subject, first of all, I will need the subject that I want to know, and then I call the method, the function teachers, and then I use get to receive that info. So for here, I will know that the what teachers, all the teachers that teach this subject. So this is the show. Okay, right now, let's say if I want to add a new subject to a teacher, let's say here, geometry, we have Zainal and Emiri. Right now I want to add a new teacher, let's say Ken. So we need to, so when I press add, oops, no worries. Okay, Okay. So here we have can. Yes, just now that we add can inside here. Okay, so how we can save it? Okay, first of all, this is a bit different from the two previous. When we want to add a new data to when we want to add a data, let's say if we want to add teacher for that subject, this one we will not make a new data teacher, but we will use the existing data that exists inside the teacher table and get that data, and then we will save it to that subject. Because inside here inside here, this table only links, it doesn't make a new data here. If you want to make a new data, you first need to make that data inside the table, and then you will link inside this intermediate table. For instance, let's say I want to say that I want Zaina to teach a new subject here, let's say English. So the first thing is I need to create that English inside this table first. Then I can link Zaina and the ID of Zaina and the ID of English inside this table. So this table only links. If you want to create a new data, you need to create that data first for the specific table first. So inside here, what it does is that it links, let's say, the subject of geometry and the new teacher. So it links inside that table. So the method is the subject, call the function teachers, save the teacher that will teach that subject. So that is how you will add or link the teacher with the subject. Yeah, so that is for the many to many. Okay, so some questions that they asked yesterday is that because okay, the question they asked is that first of all, I need to make a migration first, and then I need to make a model, and then I need to make a controller. For all this, is it that I need to create that one by one, or is there a method where I can just create them all with one command? And actually there is inside here. If we go to our documentation, model, generating model classes. Okay, as you can see here, let's say if I want to make a model flight, and here are the keys for me to make things that will be included with the model. I say if I make model flight, dash F, it will make the flight factory class, dash S, the flight seater class, dash C, flight controller class, dash policy, it will make the flight policy class as well. But for me, usually when I make a model, I will just make all, so it will automatically create a migration, factory, seater, policy, controller, and form requests. It will create all of that. So that's how usually when I make for table or for a model. Okay, other questions regarding yesterday. Yes, Chong asked about container, service container. So this one, service container, is if you want to make a custom Laravel, actually in simple terms, if you want to make a custom Laravel, and then you will use this, but usually for now people don't quite make it anymore. Yes. Okay, other questions is that I don't remember, but I do intend try to teach one class maybe in the future, which is called the broadcasting. So broadcasting is a what you call a feature that says that is provided by Laravel if you want to make real-time data. For instance, you want to make a chat app real-time chat system, so you can use broadcast. So who knows, maybe in the future maybe I can teach this one. And also, yeah, there is another one. There is a student asked, for Laravel, how do I save a file or storage? So here the file storage. So inside here for the configuration we have the sometimes Laravel has make configurations for, let's say, Amazon S3, public disk, caching. But let's say for now I just use the local driver. So for the local driver, inside our controller, first of all we need to call this not function but a thing that Laravel has made, and then all I need is I will just need to call this method. So inside the example.txt I will just need to put the file that we want to save. So that's how, and I think that's all based on yesterday's question also. And I hope that this video can help anyone out there that wants to learn Laravel. And thank you. Assalamualaikum.